let's stay on the West Coast and head north to Portland. I want to talk about the Thorns. Obviously, a lot of big-time recognizable players on that roster. And last year, pretty good finish, second in the standings. In your opinion, what should the Portland fans, speaking of a local marketing rival to your Seattle Reign, bias aside, what should our Portland Thorns fans be looking out for this season?
I'll tell you, there is a little bit of a rivalry. I went to a match maybe the season before last where they did a Reign versus Thorns. I'm going to show myself as a total fraud here. And then the MLS clubs, the Sounders versus the Timbers. I know their names.
Nailed it.
They did like a double header. The Reign played the Thorns first. And obviously me and my wife were there. We're enjoying it. And up in the corner in the visitor section, I couldn't quite make out what the Portland fans were chanting until the end of their chant, which ended with them loudly screaming, "Fuck Seattle." So, a little bit of a rivalry. I got to say credit to them, though. You could hear people laugh the first time they unleashed it. Like, we all got a kick out of it. So, yeah, you could say a little bit of a Pacific Northwest rivalry there. What should we look for as people who are kind of like coming into the league and trying to learn more and enjoy it more? We should stand up and we should applaud Christine Sinclair. She scored 190 international goals for Canada, making her the all-time leading scorer in the history of international football. She's a legend.
Awesome.
She was celebrated as such after her final match for Canada on December 5th, 2023. It was a 1-0 win over Australia. This is her last season for the Thorns, where she's won the NWSL Championship 3 times and the NWSL Shield once. So I'm not the boss of anybody. I'm merely making suggestions out here. But when she comes to your town, when she comes to Seattle, I have a feeling that we're going to find a way to give her a standing ovation. I would encourage everybody to, because it's not every day that a legendary player, an all-time leading scorer, retires. So I think we should all find a way to honor her.
Yeah, for sure. It makes all the sense in the world. And I do want to rewind a little bit. No apologies necessary for not knowing these MLS teams. This is a podcast primarily about women's football.
It's true.
Don't you dare ask me to name any MLS teams or mascots, because I promise you I will fail miserably. But again, that's not what we're here to do. Talk to me about some of these attacking players on Portland. You know, obviously they've got, some names that we recognize. Sophia Smith, Olivia Moultrie, who we saw start to get her shine on in the Gold Cup. Maybe one of the players of the final.
I mean, you got to say that's very encouraging. Like, yeah, they lost Crystal Dunn. They lost Costa Rican midfielder Rocky Rodriguez. But you mentioned they have Sophia Smith. They have 25-year-old Sam Coffey. They have Hina Sujita, who we talked about a lot when we were watching the World Cup. Olivia Moultrie, like you said. I think it's also important to consider, if you're even framing the question of like, what's the expectation in Portland? The expectation there is to win. This club wins and is competitive, has been competitive pretty much every season, but like 2 since like 2013. So they're not making excuses down there in Portland. Like, they draft well. Obviously they drafted Sophia Smith number 1 overall a few years back, but they have good players. They have good scouting, and they're just wildly consistent. So you also mentioned they finished second in the table. They're going out there to win games, and they get it done pretty consistently.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see them. I'm also pumped that they get that first slot on Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. They take on the Kansas City Current. With that said, let's shift gears to the Kansas City Current. We are covering women's football every week here on Into the Channel, sometimes twice a week if we're in good form. Let us know what we missed in the comments. Obviously, everyone out there who chimes in elevates the show. You have no idea how much Grant and I appreciate it. Like Grant always says, this is a learning podcast, and we learn just as much from each and every one of you as we do from our independent research and from watching the games, bro. Be sure to like if you liked and subscribe if you love the women's game as much as your boys do. This week, mega NWSL preview. We covered all 14 NWSL teams as they kick off the season. In our next episode, we're going to preview all 4 UEFA Women's Champions League quarterfinal matchups as well. So if you're not locked into the Champions League, do yourself a favor. Let's broaden those horizons. This is a global game. There is talent on every corner of the planet, and we're doing as much as we can to cover as much of it as we can. Thank you for hanging out with us. Remember to subscribe, and thank you to my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel.
You couldn't have said it better, my good man. Those Champions League games, in my veins, brother. That is some good football. But The NWSL, it's one of the world's elite leagues. We're watching it. We're picking up steam. We're trying to pick up as much as we can. If this video was about one of your favorite teams or your favorite team, let us know what we missed. Let us know what we overlooked. We are trying to pick up as much knowledge as possible. We've watched some of the games from the past seasons, but we don't claim to know it all. So just drop it in the comments. Let us know what we need to cover for next time. We'll be watching the games, bro. We know you will too. We will see you guys next time.